Welcome everybody to Magma Ragers episode 31. I am joined as usual by Pandemonia.
What's up?
And we're going to be talking about the new post-patch meta. We're about a weekend after the patch now. I've had some time to play around in the meta and see what's good, see what's performing well for other players as well. So what are some of the decks that you've been enjoying, or some of the decks that you think have been maybe performing quite well?
So even after the nerf, I actually have been finding Jade Druid is still pretty good. Uh, Razika's Priest, obviously, which is no surprise. And one of the big surprises, I was quite surprised. I actually played it to finish a quest, but ended up actually playing a bit more. Is the mid-range hunter,
Mm-hmm.
which seemed to make a bit of a comeback.
Yeah, it's definitely rising a lot in popularity. Partly on the back of players like Asmodai. I think he got to rank 1 legend. There was a couple players, even just in the last few days before the nerf.
Yeah,
Uh,
like
you
even
know,
at the America ACT,
yeah, yeah,
uh, I remember we were chatting, I think about a week or two ago, about Yates and Nogudan?
no good end.
Nogudia? Yeah, they were running very similar lists to what are quite strong on ladder right now.
Yeah, yeah, we did discuss it on a previous podcast. But I mean, that kind of meta where Druid was being banned in the tournaments, it was proving itself strong. So,
Yeah,
not surprising that it's also been pretty decent on ladder. But to me, the one really big breakout deck, the deck I've mostly been playing, is the Tempo Rogue. So this is uh, a Tempo Rogue based around Prince Keleseth on 2. Well, I say based around, but I mean, the real strength of the deck is its ability to win when it doesn't play Prince Keleseth on 2. There is obviously the crazy version where you can play Keleseth, Shadowstep, Keleseth. But
yeah,
yeah, there's quite a few deck lists. The list I've been playing mostly is Ryzen's list. I've tested a variety of the different lists, and this is kind of the list I like the most at the moment. The notable differences with this list are that it's running Cobalt Scalebanes over Bittertide Hydras, partly because it helps in the priest matchup, and I was facing quite a few priests on my Climbs a Legend with the deck. So yeah, that's partly why I went for this version of the deck. It also has the Cold Bloods, which are not 100% standard in all the other lists. I think Cold Blood is really, really good right now, especially with Leroy. I think that having the burst to finish off a priest, or even to win the race against the hunter or something like that, is really massive. So I think Cold Blood is actually a very important part of the deck. Um, and then yeah, I mean, just the pirate package is pretty powerful as well. You've got your South Sea Captain, your deckhands, your swashbucklers for a bit of value, and of course patches. And what's pretty insane with this deck is if you play Keleseth before you summon patches, he's coming out as a 2/2, or if you play a captain, 3/3, or if you're shadow stepping Keleseth, he can come out even bigger than that. So yeah, when those really big patches are popping out of that cannon, they're very, very intimidating, and you can kind of see why the deck excels so well at gaining tempo. Cards like Backstab, Vile Spine Slayer, SI7 Agent, classical rogue ways of just gaining lots of tempo. And rogue kind of gets away with the Prince Keleseth um, slot, not having any other things to play on 2 because it can get away with hero powering on 2.
yeah.
Uh,
I noticed sort of the main thing I think the main rogue two drop that I think has dropped that kind of the most noticeable is obviously Viscerate.
yeah,
Is obviously one of the big cards I think you know that this isn't running, which obviously it is nice burst, but if you look at the rest of the deck has a lot of extra damage and burst potential
yeah, and I mean,
outside of Viscerate.
yeah, the fact is with Prince Keleseth, you also want a little bit more minion heavier deck
Yeah,
to actually get the value from that. And yeah, that's also where like dropping the Eviscerate isn't really that felt. The other thing that traditionally when we've talked about tempo rogues, sap has been a very big part of how rogues gain tempo. But now pretty much the Vilespine Slayers kind of
take over
fill that void in a way. They're a little bit worse, obviously, against something like Savannah Highmane, but they're still really powerful ways of getting tempo. Instead of obviously sapping the target, they allow you to kill it. And when they're buffed up by something like Prince Keleseth, all of a sudden they don't look so understated for their cost either. So yeah, the deck has been performing really, really well for me. There's quite a few players that have reached really high legend ranks. Pretty much every top 10 spot has been occupied at some point by somebody playing Tempo Rogue. Um, and there's quite a few different lists. Ballista Guy did a nice visual comparison for us. You can kind of see the core cards here. Your pirate package, the Valspines, Bone Mares,
Yeah.
obviously
Bone Mare is
Keloseth.
just a really good card.
Yeah, and Bone Mare as well is a little understated for its cost in a way, if you just consider the body itself, without the buff. But with the Keloseth as well, sometimes it comes down as a 6/6 or a 7/7, which seems a lot fairer. Plus the buff, which makes it super insane.
Yep.
And because your minions are just buffed up, they also survive on the board a lot better to make the Bone Mare even more impactful. So some of these other lists also running cards like Plague Scientist, Freaky, Mr. Good, Tice, Ginky. A bunch of players have been running the Plague Scientist, which personally I'm not a very big fan of. I feel that a lot of the times you don't necessarily want to be trading, or you don't have really small minions in your deck to trade. Um, but it is a card that obviously does help with tempo a lot in a meta. If you're facing a meta where there's lots of really big things, stuff like Big Priest or something like that, then Plague Scientist is really useful.
Yeah.
But the big fear I have a lot of times with Plague Scientist is sometimes you don't really want to even give one of your minions poisonous, one of your small minions. Sometimes you don't have a small minion to run into something, or
Yep.
against something like Dragon Priest. I mean, Razaka's Priest. It's not really that powerful anyway. Uh, the other interesting card that was in Freaky's list is the Nomish Inventor, a card we've seen popularized a lot in Razaka's Priest as well recently. But the Nomish Inventor is actually pretty interesting in the fact that it does help you deal with card draw problems. Sometimes with the deck you can kind of run out of steam, especially when you're playing lots of low costing spells, especially in like a single turn when you go like, backstab and you shadow step or something like that. You can really quickly run out of cards. So Nomish Inventor, if it's buffed by Keloseth, has a pretty decent body as well. So it kind of serves both purposes there, and that's also kind of where Zarol fits in. It's in pretty much all the lists. There's only a few like the ones that are running Prince Valinar that are not running it, or the ones running the Elemental
Spellbreaker
package.
or Spellbreaker.
I mean, most of the lists that are running Keloseth are running Spellbreaker, actually.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
sorry, that are running Zarol are
Sorry.
running Spellbreaker. The choice generally is between the Elemental package or the Prince. The Elemental package, obviously, like stuff like Fireplume Phoenix, it's kind of just like another SI7 agent that costs one more mana, basically. Um, and obviously Blaze Caller is kind of the other big, tempo swinging late game card that helps the deck live up to its sort of tempo name. And Tark Reaper, another one that can help a little bit against aggro. Um, Personally, as I mentioned, my preferred version of the list is more the Ryzen list, which is not on this comparison. But I also think the Bittertide Hydras are pretty strong. I think the Bittertide Hydras are a little bit better against Druid than the Cobalt Scalebanes, and the Scalebanes are a little bit better against Priest than the Bittertides. But they're relatively interchangeable. The other benefit of Cobalt Scalebane is sometimes in matchups like Hunter, or matchups where they can abuse the downside of the Bittertide Hydra. Um,
Right. Yeah.
which sometimes I'm also able to do in like mirrors. So Scalebane might even be slightly better in mirrors. But this deck has been very, very popular, reaching towards one of the most popular decks on ladder, and one of the most popular in the top legend ranks as well. So definitely interesting. It's kind of like, to me, it's like the long-awaited Tempo Rogue. I feel like for the last few expansions, we've been going, oh, maybe a Tempo Rogue is gonna come now. Especially after we saw cards like Vile Spine Slayer. That's kind of the big card that screamed Tempo Rogue to me back in the Journey to Angora. And now we're finally kind of seeing it come to the fore, uh, with Prince Keleseth being kind of the surprising um, thing that's pushed it over the edge.
Yeah. I mean, there was a time when a tempo rogue like deck was. I mean, back in the days of essentially backspace rogue. I mean, that was
Yeah,
a long time ago.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like, yeah, most of the lists I would have also, expected to include things like Sprint, or some of the lists I've built like pre-expansions include cards like Sprint. But yeah, none of these have really that extra card draw. It's gonna be interesting to see how the deck evolves.
Mm.
One of the early lists I played as well was Mitsuhide's list, which had the weapon package in. So
Shadow
initially double
Blades.
Shadow Blade and double Perdition's Blade, but he kind of cut the one Perdition's Blade. I tried that for quite a while. It had a really good win rate for me, but I still kind of prefer the more heavy minion version of the deck. But Shadow Blade is quite powerful actually. Just I think when you're playing Killer Seth, it's a little bit better to just have some minions in that slot, to be quite honest.
Mm.
But I mean, the big thing about this deck is like you don't mulligan super aggressively for Killer Seth. Um,
Yeah, the deck actually, I mean, a lot of times I don't think you actually need Killer Seth. I mean, obviously it helps if you do
yeah,
get it, but the deck is perfectly, fine without Killer Seth. You know.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean I've won a lot of games that had nothing to do with playing Prince Killer Seth. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's really what makes this deck kind of powerful. I mean, it's not super reliant on that killer set. Otherwise, it would be a bit of an issue. I mean, the Ryzen version, I had about a 69% win rate in like over 45 games from rank 5 to legend. So yeah, it performed pretty well. I mean, I'm really enjoying the deck. Uh, like honestly, it was one of the main reasons I was just playing a lot of Hearthstone again, or more Hearthstone. At least it was a motivating reason to play Hearthstone because I
Yeah.
was enjoying the
Rogue,
deck.
make Rogue great again.
Yeah. Um, the one big issue with the deck, I suppose, is that it's kind of expensive for newer players. I mean, it's almost the Ryzen version here is almost 12k dust. Legendaries like Shaku, Edwin, Keleseth, Patches, Leroy, Zarel. Like there's quite a few legendaries in the deck. Also quite a few epics. Well, mostly South Sea Captain and Vast Slayer, which those
Yeah.
are pretty staple epics. They're not like fringe epics at least.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, out of those cards, like the Leroy, Keleseth, Edwin, Patches, and maybe even Shaku are kind of necessary. Zarol, for like budget players, they could definitely cut Zarol and
Yeah.
find something else in that spot. Um, something like the Elemental version might be better for budget players, although then you are having the requirement of having epics like Blaze Caller.
Yeah.
Um, but there are definitely other ways to build this. I wouldn't necessarily say uh, you should go out and craft Keleseth quite yet. But
Yeah.
if you have a lot of the other key pieces of the deck, Patches, Edwin, I mean, I suppose you could replace Edwin as well. But,
And to be honest,
like
if you don't have Killer
Leroy.
Seth, you could probably just run double. You could probably just run double Eviscerate in the spot. In all honesty, and I think you obviously there are going to be the games where you suffer, but I mean, it probably will still do a decent job. I think.
Yeah, you could probably run double eviscerates and cut a shadow step as well.
Yeah.
Because I mean, shadow step has a lot of versatility in the deck, but without the killer set, I don't know if I would run two.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, yeah, you could go for that. You could definitely build off this tempo shell. Killer set's probably the most key legendary in the deck, maybe outside Leroy and
Yeah.
Patches. I think Leroy, Patches, and Killer Seth are kind of the three key ones. The others you could kind of build around depending on what you have in your collection. But I mean, yeah, that's kind of the big winner of the early uh, post nerf meta,
Yeah.
um, and kind of quickly becoming the bane of many players. We're going to be seeing a lot of Keleseth Shadowstep Keleseth memes.
Yep.
Um, I know I've pulled off the Keleseth in. I've pulled it off in my opening hand, the double Shadowstep Keleseth, where you just go like I
Killer
think
Seth
I
has.
even had coin, but I think I played it on turn two. A lot of the time you don't always have to play Keleseth on turn two if you like. Let's say a dagger is sometimes better against Hunter, maybe. But yeah, the deck performs pretty well against a lot of decks. Yeah, so it's definitely a deck that I would advise people to play if they are interested in playing some kind of tempo rogue. There's a lot of nuances to playing the deck, but It's something mostly stuff that Rogue players are relatively familiar with. Okay, and the other news we have for this week, um, it's been a relatively quiet week, but the one big esports action that we've been having is the ESL African Championships. The group stage finally came to a close after a really, really long and grueling group stage. 14 play days, a double round robin group stage for these 8 players, and we have our top four finally. Our top four in the order that they finished is Scythe, Exia, Menlin, and Saliom. So we have 2 Algerians and 2 South Africans. 3 of the players actually returning from last season's top four, which is pretty good accomplishments for them. That's Scythe, Exia, and Saliom were all in the top four last season. And Menlin, he just finished outside the top four last season, finishing fifth, I think. And he is coming in whilst Expert, somehow defending champion, unfortunately just missed out. It was a very, very close um, group stage. You know, Henryless missed out only on tiebreakers in fifth position. He had
Yeah.
pretty much the same record as 3 of the players above him. So it was really, really close. Um, like ultimately, really just came down to score difference for that fourth to fifth matchup. And it's a bit disappointing. Henryless, I think he finished sixth last season as well. So a bit disappointing for him just missing out on that close a position. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to the ESL finals at Rage. It's going to
Yep.
be really big. There's um, the CS:GO and the Hearthstone finals that are going to be happening at Rage. And for CS:GO, I know they've got Pansy and Moses, the 2 international talents for casting that are going to be there. And for Hearthstone, we're going to be using that awesome set that we had at Rush as well. It's going to be a really cool event, and there's also going to be a fireside happening. So if you're in the Joburg area, pop down to Rage and uh, yeah, pop down to Rage and come and enjoy the fireside there. It looks like my Skype has unfortunately just died. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you're in the area, the fireside's going to be really cool. There's 10,000 Rand worth of prize money to be won, and it's going to be a pretty awesome event. Um, Sorry, just give me a sec. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty awesome event. I'm going to be there casting. We'll be casting live from the venue. Pandemonia will be there as well. And obviously a lot of the other top South African players, because there's actually 2 major events going on for Hearthstone. Um,
Yeah, I think
Hello.
I dropped there for a bit.
Yeah, actually that was my Skype crashing altogether.
Oh dear.
But as I was just kind of continuing and telling the viewers, there's going to be the 2 major events happening at Rage for Hearthstone, the VSGC or DGC, whatever they choose to call it now, and obviously the fireside, the QuestF fireside that's happening
On the
at
Saturday.
the yeah on the Saturday. So yeah, I mean they're both going to be pretty interesting events to see how they go. There's 10,000 Rand for the QuestF fireside in prize money, and 6,000 Rand and some change for the VSGC event. Their numbers are quite interesting. It's like 3,152 Rand for first or something like that.
Yeah,
Uh, I'm not exactly sure how they arrived at those particular numbers, but
yeah, there's some
that's
very
roughly
interesting
what it is.
numbers.
Yeah, so both events are going to be hopefully well attended, um, and we're going to hopefully see a lot of really good Hearthstone on show. I think
Yeah,
both events will be cast as well. Well, I'm
yeah,
not sure about the Quest side, but VSGC will be cast as well. There's going to be some other casters
yeah,
coming down for that one, or
and
coming up. But
yeah,
yeah, I'm really looking forward to Rage. Are you excited for Rage?
yeah. I'm always excited. You know, it's always a great chance to meet the players. Hopefully, watch some quality Hearthstone. You know, have fun. It happen. You know, it's like once a year. You know, just all your hard work. You know, whoever is playing. You know, for whether it's the ESL or the VSGC. You know, it's just a case of players just watch all their hard work bear fruit. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, uh, For me, it's gonna be the first time going to Rage as well, so I'm
Really?
looking
Have you
forward to
never
that.
been to Rage?
No, I mean
Oh,
I grew up in Durban, and
uh,
I wanted to
feels
go to
bad, man.
Rage, and then never really got around to it, because it was always like an awkward time in October. There was always exams or stuff.
Oh,
Um,
exams. Psh.
and then yeah, when I moved to Cape Town, didn't get a chance to go to Rage yet either.
Take you on
Uh,
the VIP tour.
Thanks. But yeah, I mean, if yeah any of our viewers are in that area, come down. Let us know. You can
Yeah.
chat to us. We'll both be there. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But any other closing notes you have for this podcast? It's quite a short one. There's not
Yeah.
a lot happening right now other than just seeing how this new meta goes.
Yeah. Juventus is quite exciting. Hopefully, the diversity can, you know, continue. I mean, we didn't talk too much about it, but like decks like Control Warlock seem to be having a slight resurgence.
Mm.
Pirate Warrior is still kind of a thing, but it's not so much a thing as it used to be. Murloc Paladin also, some decks kind of struggling to find obviously their former success. So it'll be interesting to see how the meta develops. Always time will tell.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Pirate Warrior and Murloc Paladin definitely not dead. But not a lot of people showing them interest post the nerfs in particular. So yeah,
Yeah,
we'll see exactly how things pan out. I mean, people still definitely need to figure things out and figure out how to counter decks like the mid-range hunter and the Prince Keleseth rogue or the
yeah,
Tempo rogue.
yeah.
The mid-range hunter, one of the big counts for that was the shaman, which has also been seeing an uptake in play, and I think that's also largely what caused the uptake in play of the control warlock that you were just speaking about.
Yeah. It's a
But
sort of a cycle of life, right?
yeah, yeah. But anyway, that's all we have for this week. Please, you can like and follow the YouTube channel, the Twitch channel as well, and you can find us on social media. You can find Pandemonia there at Dale Pon on Twitter, and myself at Dib_gaming on Twitter.
I'm
Give
on
us,
Twitter. I'm Dale Pond, by the way. I'm only Pandemonia on Facebook because my Twitter account is not Pandemonia.
yeah, but didn't I say at Dale Pon for your
Oh,
Twitter?
you said Pandemonia.
No, I said you can find Pandemonia at on Twitter at Dale Pon.
Oh, right.
Your Twitter handle's at Dale Pon. Yeah,
My
don't
bad.
worry, don't worry. That's what's on the overlay too. Um, yeah. Okay. So yeah, you can find us on Twitter, and you can also give us any feedback in the comments section of the YouTube video. Feel free to like and share as much as possible. Thanks a lot for joining us. Cheerio.
Bye.